We have another transfer target for Derby County, and this time it comes from the other side of the A52. There's a player called Ateef Konate who is being linked with Derby County, and it's a position where Derby County need a lot of players. We currently only have 2 players in the area, and it is central midfield. Is this new player going to be able to take the reins of that midfield? Is he even a target for Paul Warne? So here we have where I first originally saw the link. It's an article from africafoot.com, but it's also been rehashed and followed up by Derbyshire Live. So make sure, if you do want to go and check out where these links come from, make sure you do go over and check it out over on Twitter. I always put the original one in the video from now on because people seem to think that I'm just making stuff up, but everything I do in these videos is from links that I've seen. I don't make anything up and I leave it at that. So here is Ateef Konate, and he's from the other side of the A52, pretty similar to Tyrese Warne in the sense of he's coming from the Red Dogs if he does sign for the club, and that's something which needs to be spoken about a little bit for me, because I think coming from that side of the A52, you have to live up to expectation and exceed it by a mile, in my opinion. I think Tyrese Warne on occasion. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all the latest EFL and Derby County content. If you have not done so already, make sure you smash that like button as well. Really helps out the channel and pushing it to new viewers. Really enjoying the support on the channel. Make sure you leave your comment to let me know your thoughts on this potential signing, and I'll catch you in the next part of this video. I think Tyrese Warne on occasion really showed what he was capable of, and like prime Yaya Toure for like 3 games, but then disappeared off. Now, I don't know if something was going off behind the scenes, if something was happening off the pitch in his personal life. Obviously, that's not something I need to know, but that is the sort of thing which can cause a player to have some problems. And obviously, making that step from one side of the 52 to the other can be difficult. It can be terrifying for the players, really. Now, obviously, we've seen a fair few players do it one way or the other. But is Konate going to be a player who can make that step into our first team at championship level? And I think he could. He's only 23 years old, born in April of 2001, currently at Nottingham Forest. His contract does expire this summer, so it would be a free deal. I'm not sure if Forest have offered a contract which would make it a tribunal fee. There's no sort of knowledge on that. He is a French midfielder, and this is a player who I think Derby County could deal with. And he's had 3 clubs throughout his career so far. He started out at Le Havre over in France. He's then played at both Forest and Oxford. 96 appearances, 6,838 minutes, 27 goals, 13 assists, 18 yellows and 1 red card. I think it shows that he does have an eye for a chance to create or even score himself. And I think that's something which Derby County need in midfield. Obviously, last season, our highest scoring midfielder was Conor Horahan, who essentially didn't play the second half of the season. He was on the bench a lot of the time. And it's one of those where it's something Derby County have missed for years and years and years. I think the last proper goal-scoring midfielder we had was probably Mason Mount. And then before that, you have to stretch back probably to Craig Bryson's glory days. And that's something which Derby County were missing in their League One campaign, and something they definitely need to sort out heading into the Championship campaign. Now, you can look on here. There's obviously a split between EFL Trophy, League One fixtures, Premier League 2, cup games and stuff like that, and then games back over in France. And it's one of those for me where obviously he's played a majority of his games so far at youth level, but obviously at some point these players have to make the step up. And could he make the step up to the Championship? That's something which obviously Paul Warne will be looking at when he's going through the clips with his recruitment staff and going through all the data that they have in front of them. Now, he is in that area where I think Derby County need players, more of a forward-thinking midfielder, someone who can play on both sides and all the way through the middle. And he's shown throughout his career so far that he can do that, with 30 games in the number 10 role, playing 12 goals and 7 assists. He's also played at centre forward 11 times, as well as on either side and in behind a striker. And I think he could be a player who could add a lot to the Derby County squad. Now, I'm not going to say he's a player I have massive knowledge on, but if you look at the numbers that he's been putting up at youth level, it's quite similar to those of players who have broke into our first team before you. Obviously, I don't want to look too far back onto Tyrese Forner joining and how he came in and went out and things like that, because I think there was alternative context to Tyrese Forner's season, and I do think Forner has the opportunity to really reinvigorate his career next season if he is a player that Paul Warne decides to keep. And I think Konate could come in and do a job in that number 10 role. He's young, athletic, he's in that 23 to 29 age range which Paul Warne wants. He doesn't have a great deal of experience, but there's always other players out there who we can bring in for that experience. So for me, I think it'd be a fairly decent signing. Now, where would he fit? In this current system, I personally think he probably fits in the roles where Thompson and Forner are, maybe even in that sitting behind the striker role where the likes of Blackett Taylor and Tom Barkhuizen are, and obviously Nathaniel Mendez-Lang. As I'm recording this video, we still have no update on Louis Sibley or James Collins' contract. I know for a fact that Louis Sibley is on holiday at the moment because it's on his Insta story, but obviously there's no even sort of murmurs of what's going to happen. Obviously, there's been a few people saying he's moving to Rotherham to play for Steve Evans in what would be essentially a League One title battle if you look at some of the players they're bringing in. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that gets handled. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of work to be done on this squad over the next few weeks. I'm expecting movement to start as well, because obviously we probably need 8 or 9 players, I'd probably say, maybe even 10. If you look at the goalkeeper department, midfield, I think we definitely need a couple of forwards. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's handled. Obviously, we've not heard anything about Sibley and Collins, which is sort of making it a bit hard to predict who's going to come in and how legitimate links are when they come in. But that is just one thing to talk about. But it is going to be a potential free transfer. There is a few clubs interested in Ateef Konate. Sunderland were the most notable one, but I believe there's interest from the likes of Huddersfield as well. I believe I saw on the article. And one thing that we do have is that ex-Forest connection between Tyrese Forner and Ateef Konate. Would Forner be able to talk up Derby County and get him to come in if it is a deal which Paul Warne is looking into? I think that's something which we tapped into a lot last summer with the likes of Sonny Bradley and Curtis Nelson, Callum Elder. James Collins knew a lot of the players. Mendez-Lang knew a lot of the players. And obviously then you bring in Kane Wilson. Wilson knew a lot of the players. So it's one of those for me where I really think we've got to tap into the players that we've got still at the club and who they could help bring in. And I do think if Konate was to come in, I think it'd be a 2-year deal with an optional extension for an extra year to make it 3 years at the end. But it will be interesting to see what Paul Warne does decide to do. I do think it's obviously an absolutely massive time for Derby County, because we've got a lot of work to do on this squad to make sure it's championship ready. And will Ateef Konate be championship ready? That is the question. We need to make sure we do have all our ducks in order heading into that first game of the season, whoever it's going to be. We find out, I think it's the second week of June, but we'll go through all that as and when it comes. So let me know your thoughts down below on the potential signing of Ateef Konate. Obviously, I did a video just the other day about Adama Sidibe. That was one of the best performing videos on my channel over the past few weeks. So if you are enjoying this type of content, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button, as it really helps the channel out and you do not understand how much it helps. But I will now catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.